Hello and welcome to Perspectives. My topic was slightly different, but the pre-show discussion has maybe steered in a slightly different direction. What we got to talking before we went live was that PTV World has done a great job launching an English channel, but the discussion was, is it economically feasible? My point, that all the other Urdu channels, just by their lateral growth, the number of channels has divided that huge market. The market, which is 90% of Pakistan, Urdu speaking, the mass market, has a certain number. And divided into the number of slices by channels, regional channels, language channels, that chunk, that marketing chunk, the money-making chunk has become very small per channel. Whereas now, PTV World being an English channel, it is the only English channel. So that niche market is captive to PTV World. But then another friend who had introduced us now said that the people who would watch an English channel are not really interested in Pakistan. My perspective, and no pun intended by the name of the show, is that a lot of educated people who have now been put off by the content Urdu channels are putting out are moving towards a softer, kinder, if I may use the word, content, which is PTV World. That's what the discussion was, and I'll take from there and mention our topic. This topic came out last week when we had a show with Mr. Faisal Kapadia, and as we were walking out, Mr. Kapadia said, why don't we talk about how new journalism and old journalism needs to come together and work together. There's a strange animosity. I will not take any names, but senior veteran journalists have repeatedly attacked new journalists, social media journalists, not just social media activists, but they are journalists. Journalism, the definition of journalism has actually changed. Journalist is not somebody who has to work very hard, who has to write a report, who has to investigate, who has to present, who has to write an editorial. All that is no longer journalism, and it's easy to understand with Time magazine, New York Times, and other such very, very large, age-old publications shifting their positions. They have to. They don't have a choice. News now, if it is about 2 minutes late, is too old. Even before your television can give out any news, people on location issue that news, publish that news on Twitter. Even Facebook is too slow. Twitter is way faster. So journalism has changed its form and shape, my opinion. Question, can old journalism work with new journalism? Can old journalism accept new journalism? My guests on my far right, as I always say, the queen of social media and a social media journalist, Ms. Samra Muslim. Samra, thank you for being here. And with her, Mr. Amir Zia, editor of the news. Amir, thank you very much for taking time out. And with him, the man who actually suggested tonight's show, Mr. Faisal Kapadia. His blog, faisalkapadia.com, has a lot of weight, and he, I would say, is a new journalist. Faisal, thank you very much for being here. A veteran media personality, Mr. Zaheen Khan, who is ex-general manager of Pakistan Television as well. Thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure. And ex-BBC, a freelance journalist, Ms. Sabeen Agha. Thank you very much for taking this time out. So I'd like to start with you. On television, in written journalism, we see this where old journalists say, oh, these young people who are just coming on TV and forming opinions, they're not journalists and they're not acceptable, and then people on social media are just trolls and making noise. Is it fair? Has new journalism come to its own right, and will old journalism accept it?
What they're saying, it's very unfair. Reason is this: I, as a producer working here, I'll give you my example, right? And few people, my assistant and other people, they used to work with me. So I should have kept myself whatever I know. That is wrong. I shouldn't. But I have to transform my ideas and my confidence to my younger generation, right? The same with the journalism. It's the ethics, right? They used to think themselves in their terms and in that era. Now it's completely a changed atmosphere. So you have to think the people who are studying in journalism and they have to come into the field and work and do the practical thing. I think they should advise the young journalism, young journalists to what's wrong and what's right. That is the idea. They should do that. Otherwise, it's no. I don't agree with them if they say the young journalist.
And if you haven't run about the city with a camera hanging in your neck with a pen and a paper, then you're not a journalist. If you haven't done your beats, you're not a journalist. I'm looking at Amir because Amir is somebody who has gone through the ranks of journalism. Is old journalism just very protective of its losing position?
The thing is, to start with, I'll just try to revisit the basic premise of your argument. That is, it's new versus old. Basically, the spirit of journalism remains the same. And what is the spirit of journalism? The spirit of journalism is that you have to be accurate, and you have to be factual, and you have to be fair, and you have to be balanced. To starting with, yes, the spirit remains the same whether you are working in 19th century, 20th century, or 21st century. Getting to the medium, medium can change. There was a time when pigeons were used to share information. And then there was a time when people started using newspaper.
Sure.
And when radio came, and people predicted that newspaper will die, but newspaper survived. And then we saw that, medium kept on changing. There was TV, and now it's internet. And on internet, yes, we have to adapt ourselves to that new medium. And all the newspapers and all the mainstream channels, whatever you name them, they are adapting themselves and making their presence felt on social media, be it Twitter, be it Facebook, or any other platform. So it is not the question of us versus them. Another point is that those people who are tweeting day and night and they are sharing the information, we have to make some distinction between opinion and a news report. So most of those people who are tweeting all the time, and I'm not trying to undermine them. Of course, their opinion is very valuable. But saying that they are not professional journalists, and for every,
right, Amir Zia. They are not professional.
They are not professional journalists.
They are copy journalists.
And they are instantly reacting to situations. Maybe there is a bomb explosion, and they'll share that information, and then they'll come up with their opinion as well. So where there's a demarcation or distinction between these two is that whenever a mainstream media is going to tell you a story, people are going to believe it. And they are going to believe that it is authentic, it is independent, it's objective. Yes, of course, people might say that, this house is not very objective and they are more sensational, this and that.
But generally,
this is a finer detail. This is a separate debate. But for instance, as a, individual person, if I see a bomb explosion and I say that, in Gulshan Pala, God forbid, there's an explosion.
Sure.
But who's going to believe it? Who is Amir Zia? Until I am representing a platform.
Okay. I wish Norbert was here today. I hope Norbert is watching. I'm missing Norbert today. I'm going to hold your comments. I know both of you are aching to just unleash. I'll just come to you in a second. Amir said, they're not professional journalists. He talked about the accuracy, the factuality, and the fairness of news. He talked about who would believe what's written on maybe by Faisal Kapadia or Samra Muslim. But hasn't the paradigm completely shifted away from what Amir just said? The real life situation.
To some extent, I do agree with you. But what Amir actually is talking about is when we talk about the social media journalism, it has to do with, there has to be an editorial policy. That basically is not being followed. Like, for instance, when Amir says that, it's basically an opinion that they are sharing. if we do try to compare the old and the new journalism, what I see is that, it has basically shifted from the static TV experience to more interactive, sitting in front of the computer and, connecting with the entire world with just one click. Now the viewer or the person who's sitting on the computer, or you want to call that person a journalist, can make his or her own news, can connect to the person of their own choice. They can find the news of their own choice with just one click. So it's basically this is a competition between the static TV experience with more interactive interactive internet or the social media journalism experience.
When we talk about the impact and the efficacy of a news, and Samra, I'd like to come to you on this one. Do you really think that, Amir mentioned a bomb, God forbid, and how mainstream media would be more believable, plausible. But have you noticed, if you have 18 channels, now with photographs, every channel has a different count, and they're off by 10 people. So the credibility of journalism is really at stake, at least in this country. Because one would say 2 casualties, one would say 5, 10. They can go from 2 to 15. That's the difference. So the credibility of that news is really not there.
There's a lot of criticism on that.
No, but
that our electronic media is on the sensational side.
But
that's totally another
inaccuracy side.
Totally
not sensationalism, but inaccuracy.
And that's what the starting point for being inaccurate is being sensational.
I think that's basically because of this rat race and the term breaking news itself changing the meaning of the breaking news itself. I mean, the first and the foremost thing when you receive the news is to, check it first, check it. But in breaking news, we've seen that, the meaning itself, the term itself, the breaking news has actually changed the meaning. It has changed the meaning. In print, we use exclusive. In TV, we use breaking news. Breaking news is not that, someone is opening the door for Asif Zardari. Breaking news is Asif Zardari, entering Asif Zardari's plane, entering the Pakistan airspace. This is the breaking. Whoever has it first. It does not mean it has to be accurate. Breaking news does not mean that it has to be accurate. It's the first information that is coming in.
Sure. But let me just point, Amir and I have worked, he still does, and I've worked in mainstream news channels, and I can guarantee, eyewitness report, I have seen the newsroom changing their death count based on the average on all the other channels. Because people are not on ground. They're making, Geo is saying 8, Ayarba is saying 9, Dunia is saying 11, I think 10 is a good number, let's go with 10. We both know that, we both stood in front of those screens and seen it happen. No names
but
taken.
We always try to fight that trend.
No names taken.
We always, we never condoned that. We always visited that.
Yeah, but we've seen this happen.
We have seen
so
this,
what I'm saying is, the impact value, I think, of Samra Muslim standing at Teen Talwar and saying, I can see 100 people here, and just picking up a point, taking a picture and tweeting it to 100,000 people has much deeper impact than any newspaper or TV channel could have anymore, Samra.
Well, a lot's been said, so I'm just going to take a few minutes to just sort of channel it all and trying to figure out and say what my bit is. For starters, I'll wear a hat of just an ordinary audience instead of not being a social person who's on social media. Now, if I'm on an audience, that's when the breaking news phenomena comes into that. At that point, if I've heard an explosion, then I want to know what's happened. Reality is your TV channels are slower. And reality is your Twitter and social Facebook are faster. So, and yes, if I've heard a blast and 10 other people have heard a noise and they've also tweeted it, the chances are whoever they are, if it's all over my timeline, it's happened. So we live in a situation, we live in Karachi, and let's be honest about it, we all are scared of our lives.
Even beyond the bomb blast,
anything. So if we feel our bed move, if it's a natural calamity like an earthquake, I would be like, have I lost my mind or has my bed really moved? So you would probably open the TV and there'd be nothing there. So the next thing you do is like, old school thought. And next thing you do is open your Twitter feed and you'd actually see 6 other people saying, my bed just moved, my chair just moved, this moved. And you'd be like, okay, so there was an earthquake. Can I finish? I didn't interrupt.
Allow me to interject this one. It is not just local earthquake.
It's worldwide.
If something happened in Greece, I would go to my Twitter feed before I'd go to a television.
Agreed. And that's like a global phenomenon. I'm just talking about an audience perspective.
Sure.
Me as an individual who's not on social media has 1 follower, so I don't have anything to share. But I still want to know.
Sure.
So from that perspective, social media gives me the information first, inaccurate or accurate to some level of accuracy. So there, your mainstream accuracy thing is anyways not there. We've already burst that accuracy bubble. So let's move to the next bubble, first news. Social media gives you the news first. And you can't take it out from that because this is information that's coming from people who are right there. So it's Taksim Square happening, it's people from Taksim who are tweeting it or Facebooking it. So, news is going to print it the next day. Taksim is right there. Whether it's Syria, whether it's Tahrir Square, it's all social media.
In real time.
Yeah. So that's 1. 2, mainstream media. Now I come back to social media and I talk about social media as someone who is actually there on social media. And I look at it and evaluate it from a point of view who's actually going out and sharing content out there. Yeah, I might not have that journalism degree that we all have, or a few of us have hanging on our walls, and I have like a boring MBA degree. But having said that, information is information. Okay? 1, opinion is opinion. Your newspapers are full of opinions as well. Your television channels are full of opinion as well. What stops me from having a right to the life I'm living? I'm sorry, but no television channel was there in Quetta. They were all covering Tahirul Qadri. It was people on social media in Pakistan who actually woke up the entire country and said, hello, there are dead bodies lying that need to be buried. And they turned your mainstream media's attention to Quetta, where they had to actually rush and fly out people to Quetta and say, okay, cover this story, forget about this guy on a stupid container. I'm sorry, okay? So, and that's what social media does. This is what social media is doing. And that's where my personal opinion or 2 bits is that, listen, we're not here to take your space. You are still you. You're still the experts in your own profession. We don't want your profession. We have our own thank you. We're very happy with it. But having said that, hear us out because we're talking sense as well. There's stuff that you don't know.
Okay.
And we do.
I think, would you like to add before I go to Faisal? I think both of you wanted to say something.
I just wanted to endorse the point that she was making by giving an example of, to some extent endorse your point, giving an example of Eftabad operation where the guy was killed.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Exactly.
As real time as it gets.
But he didn't even know.
I just want to say that, to begin with, the thing is that the relationship between social media and traditional or mainstream media is not hostile. All the time.
Excuse me, it is hostile.
Let me complete. The thing is, hostile in terms of institution. Maybe individual here or there, they can feel a bit excited and fight with each other. That's another.
No.
No, it's professional.
But it is not professional. No, it's not. Sorry. Let me complete my.
You put your hand in a beehive. I'm telling you.
The thing is, Faisal, the thing is that all the time we also monitor Twitter feed. We go to the Facebook and we use these platforms as a primary source of information sometimes. So
but
in any way we are not saying.
You said your words. Who would believe it? And
I'm not saying undermining. We are not undermining social media. The thing is, we use it as a first information, and then perhaps being professional trained journalists, if they are saying that she felt that
let me narrow it. Journalism, so correct me here, the purpose was to form opinions or provide news. 2 purposes, right? Either provide information.
First of all, information. And of course, give perspective, give analysis.
But also form opinions.
And yes.
Journalism has always formed opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, their opinion formation power, I think, is way deeper now than any old school journalist left, at least in this country. As for the animosity, again, I will take you back a date and time where I did shows personally with old school journalists on live TV telling me, people like you should not be on TV because you're not journalists. And I think People like Shazib Khanzada, people like Wasim Badami have nothing to do with journalism. Nehal Bukhari, they're not journalists, but they have much deeper opinion impact. So new journalism is not necessarily just new media. It's also new journalists who are not journalists. People like myself, I'm not a journalist. But we've sort of taken that space, and there is very hostile animosity in that space.
No, I don't think so on individual level. Yes, they can be. I'm talking about institutional level.
Professional level.
Group level.
No, it's not like that. I mean, if you want to create it, I mean, yes, but I don't think so on our part it's not like that.
The problem.
I'll give you your piece.
Sorry,
let them all have their word, and I'll give you your piece.
Actually, basically, when you give a news, okay, you are just giving information to your audience, public, okay, and the way news broadcast on various channels, all the news are the same, actually, and the way they narrate the story, it's so emotional, right? They don't know what they are doing. They're just
super
hyper, because in the background, the person, there is because in PTV, I know, I'm sitting here, my producer is sitting and producing program. He's the king. But in private channel, it's not there. It's lacking. Teamwork, on the whole, is lacking. Because I am the only...
anchor is the king there.
Yes, anchor is the king. Whatever he's doing, he's just directing from down there to his producer, and the producer is also...
He has brought anchors down too.
Yeah?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because I have a lot of experience in PTV as well as in private sector. And I have seen it.
As you said, the anchor, the producer's king, I can hear it in my ear. The whole team on the pitch is going, oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Really?
I'm sorry to say this, and I'll have to say it now on live TV,
but I have to cut you about 4 minutes for the break, right?
All of mainstream media now, and I'm really sorry guys, but you're all after the fact news. Okay? I mean, I consider what is journalism now?
God forbid, the newspaper is completely after the fact.
What training does a broadcast journalist get when he steps into a PTV or any private channel? His training or her training is, I'm sorry to say, in most cases not very different from somebody who's sitting on Twitter. In the start. Then you pick up people, then you
PTV is completely different.
Okay, maybe PTV is completely different. But private channels, what integrity does a press pass give you? Why is this feeling in mainstream media that because I have a press pass, I am supposed to have an opinion which matters and nobody else's does? I mean, whatever is now on mainstream media is happening a day or probably hours after it's already out there. Look, internationally, people have already realized the importance and the power of social media. When is Pakistani mainstream going to get it? Unless we learn to collaborate and go together hand in hand. I'm sorry, but you're all dinosaurs.
It will take time.
Well, not they, Khata.
Not, but mainstream media.
But
social media
is the...
I mean, because I hear you people talk and you start off by saying that, okay, mainstream media is more trustworthy than social media, and then you say that most times our first information is from social media. You're shooting yourself in the foot within 4 minutes.
It's not like that.
What is that? You just said that.
Of course I said
but
that.
Anything...
I mean, from whatever source we can get some information, I mean, it's welcome, even from Satan or devil. But we are going to...
So you're saying that you're comparing us to the Satan or the devil?
Because we have been called that implying. What I'm saying is that, even if Satan is giving us some information, we are going to buy it, we are going to double check it from our sources and then give it perspective.
Exactly.
And you're saying your sources are double checked?
Of course.
Really?
Of course.
Breaking news is double checked?
Listen. The problem is
breaking news is there is no check.
no check.
What breaking news? No double check. No check.
The problem is,
but because why I'm saying this?
That is
the rating is there.
But that is
the rating.
We are making two issues together.
Everyone is claimed
we were mixing two
we are the person, we are the first one to give this breaking news. Why they
I
claim?
mean, we are actually
Breaking news is a
we should
breaking
not
news.
And also the
focus.
bearer of bad
And
news.
the-
Let's not focus only on electronic media.
Okay,
Let's only focus upon.
Let's get organized again, please.
I'm
go ahead.
just saying, let's just not only focus upon electronic media and not only talk about breaking news.
It's just
right?
old journalism. And
Yeah.
I need to take a short break. Let me just bring that perspective, what you just said. Absolutely. I was about to say that. Interjecting what you were saying, I'll come back from you, Faisal. But within electronic media itself, you will see this cannibalism and animosity, where there are old journalists who have talk shows and there are new kids who have talk shows. And the old journalists are very, very aggressively defensive about that. I can take out tapes. I've had these arguments in my show. I know, I agree, but I'm saying it's, I want Amir to address that, where they would say, when all hell broke loose in private media, where you guys are irresponsible, people were attacking, said, oh, you know why? Because all these new kids who have no journalism experience have talk shows, they are the problem. Whereas I think old journalists have...
Before you take a break, just one point I would like to
I've never seen Amir Zia so aggressive.
No, I'm not aggressive. I'm being very polite and very humble. The thing is that we are mixing two issues. The issue is that if we are here to criticize or to see how our mainstream media is functioning, that is a totally different debate. And I can speak a lot on that also. That what kind of flaws we find in our media and in our coverage. That's on the sensational side, and we are missing these facts with that. So that's a totally different debate. And we must do that as well.
Sure.
But the thing is that here you are saying that the relationship between new and old media is hostile. My argument is that it is not.
And Samra's and Faisal's point is that they're very, very protective and...
No.
Break.
Some
I gotta take
people
a
are
break.
not. So
Short break. Let's take a quick short break. Thanks for staying with us, for watching Perspectives. Two tweets I'd like to mention here. Maham Kadwai says, old journalism has created a monopoly. It's as simple as that. My news is more credible than your news. That is the mentality. And she says, we live in an age where there is an explosion of information. New journalism covers it all. Old journalism focuses on ratings. Faisal Kapadia.
I think we keep referring to old and new journalism. I think if you consider journalism as a whole today, and I'm talking about Pakistan, because again I'll say this internationally, it's already been proven statistically and otherwise that new journalism has overtaken old journalism. Most read news sources in the world are now blogs. Nobody reads newspapers anymore.
Even newspapers are writing their news
and
in a
all
blog
of their
style.
newspapers are now shifting their pieces. Most of them are even shutting down the newspapers and shifting online because of this reason. Now the thing is, when we talk about journalism as a whole, so the journalists need to decide that whether they want to move on with this profession intellectually and feasibly or not. If they keep hanging on to the mentality that I am better because I have spent X number of years in any TV channel that you name, that's not going to get them anywhere. I mean, they're just slower. Don't they get it? It's just too slow.
Okay, the speed is one thing, but you have to understand the credibility.
Not the question.
What
credibility
do you sir attach to journalism in Pakistan?
Right. But there is one thing, the sense of responsibility. You are just broadcasting a news to your audience, your viewer. You don't create a havoc in your society.
Who creates more havoc? Old journalism, new journalism?
The new journalism.
New journalism creates havoc.
Because
How?
reason is this, because those people, they got a sense of responsibility. They don't have a sense of, the old journalists, right? The new one.
So is it valid for Pakistan? Theoretically, yes, but is it true for Pakistan?
True for?
Pakistan.
It's true. Okay.
Pakistani old journalists are not really very responsible.
No, they were responsible. Listen to me. Embargo is was the most essential part of the news. I can give you one example. There was a case of Bushra. She was killed somewhere.
30 years ago.
Listen to me. What happened?
About today.
Yes, today. That is the responsibility. They didn't broadcast the news, right? There was a news broadcast of elephants, some zoos news. One day,
that was a different generation. Today, what new media does, but what old media does is, if God forbid there is a casualty, they actually have the poor guy's identity card, his car's registration plate, all over the television.
You cannot broadcast. Sorry, you cannot give news in competition to your viewers.
That's
there are 35 channels.
Find out about
35 channels. And every channel is.
Say one bit over here.
I
understand what you're saying about responsibility, but then tell me, how responsible is this journalism when there are 80 plus dead bodies lying in Quetta and there is a man with a weird hat? What is priority responsible news?
This is one of the examples.
Sir, I can give you one more. Okay, I will give you 1,000 more examples like this.
Most of the journalists, they are not journalists.
Sir, I can give you 1,000 more examples where people are dying and it's not given news.
They are not journalists.
But so
they are not journalists.
So all television channels, actually pretty much all, are controlled by responsible old journalists like my dear friend Amir Zia sitting. Most of us are friends, and they're all old journalists, responsible people.
I may be old, but I'm young at heart. And I always consider that I'm on both sides.
I said my old friend. I said my old friend.
Just a number.
My old friend.
But I'm your old friend. Faisal, the thing is that, as Faisal Kapadia was saying, and I totally agree on many things which he's saying. I mean, what new media has done, the good thing. The thing, it has empowered individuals. I mean, now a person, I mean, there was a time that you cannot disseminate news or your opinion without the help of some big house. So now, all this technology, all this internet, it has empowered not just people like Osama bin Laden, but individuals who can bypass.
You're missing the cue. The cue here is that the old houses are irrelevant. That's the cue.
No, it's not like that. They're totally irrelevant.
That's his point.
That is where I disagree.
That's what I'm saying. That
I mean, that is where I disagree.
Okay.
I don't think I think what needs to really happen is everyone needs to coexist. One.
Thank you. Absolutely.
It's all about
joint forces.
Yes. Everyone has a specific role to play. I would agree with Khan Sahab. Responsible news, opinions need to come out through the traditional, more trained media. Breaking news and first news needs to come out of your social media and the citizen journalists, as we might call them.
I think the discussion he started with, and I sort of agree with Faisal, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the old journalists need to understand that their space
and
is
that
shrunk,
is exactly what I
and their impact value, their credibility of what they're saying, this great opinion, is of no value.
Yeah,
Faisal Kapadia or Awab Alvi can steer opinions much faster than any current affairs news anchor can. Another aspect of this, the whole power of opinion formation, the whole power of steering the society has been abused by journalists in the past, at least in many countries. Today, when you talk about check and balance, when you talk about correction, I think old media, television, even press, has no real correction mechanism. People can say irresponsible blanket statements every night, no recourse, no retraction. Whereas new media, if Samra was to say something irresponsible, 200 people would correct her within 30 seconds. Another example, if a politician or a personality makes a careless statement, way before television or press can react to it, social media has them by the throat, and they have them running for their life, changing their opinion within minutes.
Well, I do agree with this to some extent. Let's just put it this way, that this social media or the new journalism, if you want to call this, it has its own benefits and it has its disadvantages as well. The benefits you have, mentioned that, they can be put to task, and to some extent, you are absolutely right that, you can be taken, these people can be taken to task. But when you say that, something irresponsible is being going on here, like Zaheen Khan Saab said, that has basically not to do with the old journalism or the new journalism. It has to do with the basic training of any individual, be it a new journalist, if you want to call that, or be an old journalist like me. I call myself an old journalist, and I'm not I don't have any animosity with new journalism. I have embraced new journalism. I use Facebook,
Sure.
right? It's more faster, and if something is wrong, I do check it through Facebook. I do check it on the online version of the newspaper if it's going wrong. So it has basically to do with the basic training of that particular individual. The animosity, I think, does not come from the insecurity. The number is very limited, Faisal. That you're saying that the old journalists feel very insecure. Their space is shrinking. I don't think that's the thing. The thing is that all that hard work, that effort, that going in the field, talking to the people. I'm not talking about what electronic media is doing now, or the journalists or the big
Mm-hmm.
journalists, what they are doing now. I'm just talking about the journalism myself, on the whole. Journalists like Amir Saab, and Amir Saab, we've both worked in the same organization. We would never sit inside the office if we receive any news information or anything. I mean, I covered Daniel Pearl case. Amir Saab covered Daniel Pearl case way back in
98, 99.
Yeah, 2000, 2001, 2001, 2001. 2001, 2002. That wasn't the age of breaking news. That wasn't the age of electronic media. That was still the age of journalism. We would put all the hard effort. We would go on the ground, make phone calls.
Nobody's doubting that. Nobody's doubting that.
All that hard work.
Sabeen, that's fantastic.
I'm just ending it. I'm just ending my point. It's that thing, it's that it doesn't make us feel very proud of ourselves. It makes me feel content, satisfied that I am a professional.
Okay, now can I ask you?
I have gone in the field and I've worked.
Okay.
I write blogs.
Think I don't do that?
I'm saying I write.
No. I agree.
Did I
agree that you
did I say that you don't do it?
We don't do that.
No, did I say that?
No, she didn't say that. Let's
I
not
didn't
go to
say
the wrong
that.
camera.
I said I agree with you. The problem is that when you say they are insecure, it's not that insecurity. It's all that hard work that they have put in, which most of the people did not.
I'm forced to agree with this. I know him personally. I know many journalists personally. Went to school with them. They're class fellows, buddies. We hang out.
I didn't study journalism. I went in the field.
But hear me. But the fact that at that time that was the need, and these people did that, you people did that, I think what they have to come to terms with is the game has now changed. That game doesn't exist anymore. There was an article about 4 days ago where press photographers are actually losing their jobs big time. Any photograph they can bring in now is late. iPhone has actually put press photographers out of jobs because you can create the National Geographic great photographs which will win the Pulitzers and the awards, but for news, any picture you can bring is late. By the time you beam a picture from a Nikon or a Canon through the satellite, through your press room, is already out and done. So all I'm saying is not because of anything, but the game has changed.
The thing is that, number one, as far as photographers losing their jobs, I mean,
it's a global thing. I didn't like it.
It's a global thing. It's a global thing, and it's not just. Reporters are also losing their jobs. It has to do with the economic downturn in the West.
It has to do with technology.
Say, listen, I mean, there are many things.
No, nothing economic.
It's not just technology.
Photographs are old.
It's not just technology. It's also the financial constraints. More than 1,000 newspapers have been closed in US.
It's financial
we have seen
because nobody wants to watch mainstream media anymore.
Fair point.
No, It's not that. People are
Why did
turning to
Time
the
shut
website.
down? Why did Time shut down?
Newsweek's
It's French.
gone.
No, that's right,
Newsweek.
They don't want to read it
Newsweek.
anymore.
No, people
Well, they're
want to
shifting
read.
the whole paradigm.
Yeah, because ebooks have started, like books have, like Faisal and I were yesterday exchanging like what, over
Listen.
1,000 books. So because we don't want those
I have a
printed books.
library of
But
1100
like, you know,
books.
okay, having
We
heard
don't sell.
everyone.
We don't sell papers. We sell content. And the medium of
But
that
the content-
content.
The
Your content
content
is
already
could
out
be
there.
radio, could be TV, could be newspaper or website.
See, but what used to
So
happen.
all the big newspapers, all the big houses, they're adapting themselves to the new media.
No, but
And
No.
they are
But they're
promoting
not
citizen,
adapting.
But
and
they're
they are
not.
promoting
Okay,
citizen
so then-
journalism. I think, you should update yourself. Even in Pakistan, a lot of good houses, lot of,
oh,
good
they're doing
websites
a
are there.
favor to give room to citizens.
No, I'll tell you, okay.
They're not.
We
They're
are
not.
providing them a
But they're
platform.
not accepting the citizen
We are
journalism.
providing
I'll tell you
them
a few
platform.
things that
No,
have
we
happened.
don't, with all due respect, we don't need your platform.
No,
No, it's okay. If you want to run your blog, by all means.
No. I just don't need it. I'm sorry. I
okay,
don't.
so what's happening?
But I
It's a
think-
couple of things. Okay, I'll tell you what a couple of things are happening. A lot of newspapers 10 years ago, when we were like in college and university and didn't have all these blogging and all these other Twitters and social media things, we used to wait the next morning for the newspapers traditionally, like our fathers and all our grandfathers and everyone used to. But all the AFP and all the other news that you fill your pages with, we read it. So that's all useless pages for us. You know that. I know that, okay? All the other content as to like X person met Y person, I know that. Saw it on television or someone tweeted it. That person maybe himself has tweeted it. So, done.
High
So,
probability the
the
person.
high probability of that person themselves doing it. Oh, I met XYZ. And that is so done. Now what leaves me to wait for that newspaper in the morning? Personally, just a few opinion pieces. But that's limited to someone actually, I wouldn't say editing it, it's more like censoring it. Because I don't want censored news. I want to be my own censor board. There's another element of that. So,
Oh God! So if I may interject, what you're really saying is that you don't want that old school editorial control. You want
yeah,
only-
I want to be able to pick and choose what suits my opinion.
If I may add here, a lot of journalists.
Somebody is sitting in a channel
Yeah.
and broadcasting a news.
Gee.
Where is his self-censorship?
Sir,
Where is
sir,
his
if I-
censorship?
if I-
But I'm not even
His
talking
or
about
her?
Sir, if I may build on
Because
what
they wanted, she or he wanted to give this news to your audience. Like CTV, there was no censor board. I was the producer. I was myself a
Yeah, but
censor
see,
board.
there was
that
a
is-
whole
I
framework
was
of ethics.
myself a-
Agreed.
because machine is nothing. Machine is nothing. This machine is very important.
And that is
You
exactly
see,
what
you
I'm talking
understand?
about. I said,
Okay, if
I
Yeah,
think the
if I
term
can
that
say-
you're using self-censorship is not the right. I think it has to do with the editorial judgment that
Editorial
you're
judgment.
talking
Okay,
about.
that's
That's
editorial
more
and that is
appropriate.
That
what
is more important.
that
What
stops
Samra
the recklessness. And
Yes, exactly.
that
what Samra
Exactly.
just said, let me just add to
Right.
that. Interestingly, I did not think of that,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
What Samra just said, I'd like to just add slightly on that. Lot of mainstream journalists who write for newspapers and do shows actually write very hyper blogs and say, I can't say this on TV or I can't write this newsletter. Here I'm presenting my real
but
opinion.
That's an opinion, right?
yeah,
What
see,
I'm saying is that even they are having to write on new media for, as Samra said, for uncensored opinion, which they want to give,
Look at
and the
Raza
consumer
Rumi.
wants
Yeah,
to
look
consume.
at Raza Rumi. Look at Talat Hussain. These are
Nadeem
all
Farooq
examples. Huh? Sorry?
Nadeem Farooq Paracha.
Nadeem Farooq Paracha. These are all people who belong to the mainstream media as well. But then they have embraced the new media. They have their own blog.
And that's where they're having real fun.
And that's where they, like literally, and look at Faisal, look at what he's doing. He goes and tweets all the stuff that he wants to do and then next day puts together a few people and does a show on it. So he's actually combining it and that is the future. And the problem, sir, that's coming right now in our environment, Pakistan's environment, I would say, is the fact that we as normal humans are resistant to that change. So it's nothing to do with maybe insecurity, that maybe what Faisal's talking about over here, but more so what's being said, and that's what I'm feeling over and over again. It's the same thing like when we take that iPad to someone who's a generation above us and say, use this iPad, and they'll be like, no, I want my book.
Okay. I'm going to add 2 tweets and then closing notes. Maham's advice says journalism has changed. That needs to be accepted. You can't keep holding on to old methods for sentimentality's sake. Evolution. And Miss
And
Simon,
we are playing a role
I'll let you give you.
in that
I'll let you,
evolution.
and Miss Simon's advice says newspapers are left to put samosas only.
Ouch.
I don't agree with
Well,
that.
hey,
Well, I
this
mean,
is new
okay,
journalism.
the piece
Twitter,
of
they can say
paper-
whatever.
Well, maybe a piece of paper can be replaced, and turned into something that can carry samosas or pakoras. But the written word, I mean, the sanctity of the written word or the authority or the accuracy of the written word will go nowhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I'm not, again, I would say I'm not at all against the new journalists. I mean, I'm having this feeling that, you're very, very, I don't want your platform, and we're like,
But I don't need it.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
just telling you the truth. I'm not
I
saying it because I have any
animosity. The fact
animosity.
that a lot of old journalists
Yeah.
have bashed Faisal Kapadia and Dr. Awad
Yeah.
and abused them
Yeah.
on Twitter, on their TV shows.
Well, that's not appropriate.
Well, that's what
That-
most people do, and that's the argument.
But it's wrong.
And I feel
They
I'm
should
having the same
understand that
feeling.
this space is shrunk.
Yeah, yeah. No,
It's like
definitely, the space is shrinking for them. But yet again, I mean, I would endorse my point again and again, reinforce it, that it has to do with them putting all the hard work in journalism.
The closing notes. I have a couple.
But I would say the new journalists or old journalists, the new people, they are doing well because Pakistan has lots of talent and they need sense of responsibility. That is the most important part. And now the media is a little bit immature. It needs maturity.
I think when we talk about insecurity and people people confuse themselves, and it's not just economic insecurity. It's a fact that all the old journalists or the institution which is defined as old journalism is all about control. What Samra was talking about. Nobody wants that control anymore. We don't need that control. I don't need anybody telling me what to read. I don't need anybody censoring what I read. I'll read what I want. And that is what new media is about. It's about the openness of it. And that's the way forward. If we can collaborate and go on with that, great. If not, we'll go on without it.
Amir?
I see both new and old media, they should be, and they are supplementing each other. And of course, we are all for press freedom. And when there was no new media during General Zia's period and, during the days of dictators, it was these old, my seniors, not myself, of course. So, those seniors, they sacrificed, they fought for press freedom. And because of that, now we are here.
They did a fantastic job for the time, if I may add. Samra?
Well, change is, I think, bottom line. I think new media is anyways, all the Facebooks and blogs and everything is very open to old school journalists coming there and creating a space for themselves. In fact, more welcoming because it's easier for them to get the followers and everything than it is for people like myself or Faisal. But having said that, it needs, the coexistence needs to come in. Like, I think the balance really needs to come in. Give the people the respect because they do have their own sets of brains and they want to make that choice. I think social media has given them that. Respect it and move on with that. Look at how the world's taking entire diaspora of media, the news, opinions, everything, and work around it. And yeah, I think coexistence is the key to go and go forward with, and that's all we want as citizens of Pakistan.
Thank you, all of you, for taking time out. I'd like to just add here quickly. I think the game has completely shifted, and I don't think anybody realizes what now the game is. Noise is today's news. Accept it. You can't talk about the credibility, the control, the editorial responsibility. All that is going to shift. It has already shifted. There was a time when something you heard, you verified from television or waited for the newspaper. Let's wait for the newspaper tomorrow so we know for sure what happened. Today, I think what comes into the newspaper or television is verified by what's being said by real people on the internet. Let's understand, internet is a massive, massive technology. It is not just ballistic, it's out of control. It is a juggernaut you can't control. Don't even try to control. Ride the juggernaut, you'll have a lot of fun. Journalism, news, information, opinions, it's all a very different game. Old journalists, my humble request, because I have personally been almost head-on with most of you, with absolute respect, ladies and gentlemen, you've done a great job, but welcome to reality. 140 characters are more powerful than your 2000.